Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name's Nicole and this is Dusty Book Sniffers, and today we're here for a weekly wrap up. So let's get into it, shall we? Well, good morning or good evening everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for taking some time out of your day and clicking on this video to listen to me to prattle on about the books that I have read in the past week. Alright, it has been a hot minute since I have done a video like this, so I don't know how well it's going to go. But anyway, I'll give it another bash. I have been around. I've been doing sprints every Monday and Friday Australian at 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I have been doing sprints and I've had a lot of lovely people joining me. And I have talked about some of these books on there, but I thought I'd better do a wrap up because people are just going to think I'm a sprinting channel. But anyway, and I don't mind if they do think I'm just a sprinting channel because that is predominantly what I'm doing at the moment. And we are continuing that through July and into August and probably forevermore. It's a great way to get some books read, and I also get a lot done in those days as well. Alright, so in the past week I have during sprints and just reading in general, I've sort of got back to it because for the month of June I was playing catch up and I had a bit of a break from filming and all of that sort of stuff, so that was great. I was able to catch up on a few of my books. I'm still doing a little bit of catch up on my classics, but that's okay. And I have done nothing on my Read Around the World challenge. So, but I am rectifying that for the month of July. So I will be having 2 videos go up this month. So if you want to find out what is happening on the channel or anything like that, check out our community tab there. And you might have to scroll down a little bit because I've probably posted a couple of posts since then, but you will find July's what's on the channel, and you will see all the reading sprints that are scheduled. They are all scheduled. There is also a playlist which you should find when you land on my channel on the home page. If you don't, just go searching for live reading sprints playlist and you'll find them all there. You can click all the notify me, and then that way you will be on time. You'll get a notification, and yeah, so you'll get a notification 30 minutes prior to me going live, and then at the time of starting. All right, so a lot of this book I did listen to while I was on sprints, and the book that I am talking about is Wild and Wicked Things. I mean, let's just take a moment and admire this cover. I know a few of you have seen it on the sprints and you absolutely loved it. It is gorgeous. I purchased this book on a whim purely because of the cover and a little bit of the title as well. I tend to gravitate to anything that has the word wicked in it or wild in it, and I will pick that up automatically. I very rarely read the synopsis. I had no idea what this book was about when I started reading it, but I just love this cover. So let's just take a moment and appreciate the artwork on this one. Okay, so what is Wild and Wicked Things about? As I said, it has got a lot of magical elements and whatnot in it. So it is following the story of Annie. Annie's father has passed away. She has found herself on Crow Island. Now there is a lot of there is a backstory about Crow Island and the witch of Crow Island and all that sort of stuff. So we have witches in this, and it is post World War One, and it also alludes in here that witches had a lot to do with the battles and stuff like that, like imparting magic onto the fighters and stuff like that. There's they touch on loss, they touch on a few other things and whatnot, especially around Annie's character. Now it is a sapphic romance. It is, I don't want to say it's a coming of age book, but it really did give that vibe, and I felt like because it was following Annie, who is portrayed as a meek and timid person, and her coming into herself, her discovering that she has witchcraft in her blood. She is also discovering how she feels about Emmeline and how their relationship grows. There is like, if I was to describe this book to someone, and this is going to sound really weird, but having read The Great Gatsby and having also read Alice Hoffman's, is it Alice Hoffman? Yes. Yeah, Alice Hoffman's Practical Magic. I had to think then for a moment. It's just over there. It is like the love child of those two books. It is very atmospheric in the way that The Great Gatsby is, and it also has the magical elements of Practical Magic. Very similar undertones in that sort of thing as well. Now, at this point in time, there is magic is sort of frowned upon, and you know, people are dying because they're using magic and all that sort of stuff. But the Great Gatsby vibe of it is you've got a mansion, you've got some rich people, you've got Emmeline and her brother and sister, who are not her brother and sister, they just feel like they're brothers and sisters, that they throw these extravagant decadent parties, and they basically have spells and stuff for people come to see them to get things that they want. And so there is a whole thing around all that happening, and look, if I say too much I'm going to give it away, and I don't want to, but just know that this book, I have given it 4.5 stars. The only reason I rated it down a little bit and it didn't end up being a 5-star is because it did, I found it a little bit too, like in some spots it was a little bit slow, and I would have liked the relationship between Annie and Emmeline explored a little bit further, a little bit deeper, and I would have liked to have known a little bit more about some of the supporting characters in this as well, because it sort of glossed over it. But other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is so my jam. Anything with witchcraft, anything with you know, that's very atmospheric and, you know, draws you into the story and you just can't put it down. There's rituals in here, and I actually listened to this with audio as well. I did a combination of sometimes reading, sometimes audio, and the Audible, was it on Audible? Yeah. I just had to think whether I had it in script or on Audible, but Audible had it, and so I got it through them. And there is some music and all that sort of stuff in it as well between chapters, and yeah, it was just great. And there was a little bit of like folklore, and the book ended with a ritual as well, which was also on the audio book. I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but this is a debut novel by Francesca May, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else that she writes. I had a bit of a giggle on my sprints when I got to the end of the book. There's a little bit about the author in the back, and it says Francesca May grew up in the middle of England, where she spent her childhood devouring fantasy books and brewing potions in her back garden. She currently lives in Derby with her family, 3 giant dogs and 2 black cats. By day, she works as a bookseller at Waterstones, and by night she accidentally kills every houseplant she touches and writes novels about gothic mansions, witchcraft, and queer love. Find more about Francesca May and other Orbit authors by registering for their free monthly newsletter. So I'm looking forward to reading more from Francesca, because it sounds like she writes a lot of stuff in the genres that I really like to read about. And this book was published, let me just see when this was published, in 2022 by Orbit Books. So yeah, so basically I have given the Wild and Wicked Things a 4.5-star rating, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And you know what, I would actually like to reread this at some stage. I enjoyed it that much. Alrighty, so let's move on to the next couple of books that I read in the past week. So I wanted to go down the road after reading Wild and Wicked Things. I thought, oh, I'll go back and I'll finish off Wheel of Time. I did not make it past my bookshelves because as I was walking past, I spotted this series. It is the Cider Shop Mystery Series. Back in November and December of last year, I read this with the Cozy Hollow Book Club. It's called Apple Cider Slaying, and we were introduced to Winnie, who is a college student and lives on her grandparents' apple orchard and with her granny. And her granny is a widow, and basically the farm is struggling, and they had to work out a way of bringing people to the farm and bringing more money to the farm and all that sort of stuff. So Winnie decides to open up her apple cider shop, and it's been a lifelong dream of hers to do that, and because she makes fabulous cider, and of course there is a murder, and it goes on from there. So we're introduced to the apple cider mystery in this one, and as I was walking past the shelf, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't mind reading the next one in the series. So I picked up Pulp Friction. My phone will always autocorrect to Pulp Fiction, and so does my mouth sometimes, but we're back on the farm again. We are in summer. A June wedding is happening, and of course there is a murder, and Winnie and Colton is the sheriff, have to work out who done it and all that sort of stuff, and that's where the adventure starts. Now, I absolutely love this book. I fell in love with the first one. I still love the book the second time around. I love Granny. The Granny in this book is sassy as all get out, and it continues on to this one as well. There are some funny moments in the book that you sort of laugh out loud, and of course there is a murder investigation, and Winnie is on the case and getting herself into all sorts of predicaments, and driving Colton, who they sort of both have a little bit of a chemistry thing happening there, and basically Winnie drives Colton crazy because she gets herself into all sorts of predicaments, and eventually they solve the mystery, and everything is fine. And then I thought, you know what? I finished that one. I actually read that pretty much in a night. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to read the next one in the series. Why not? So I went down the cozy mystery rabbit hole, so to speak, over the weekend. And so I picked up the Cider Shop Rules. This one is set in fall, so the 3 books take place over a year. So we've got Harvest Festival starting and all that sort of stuff. This one, as I said, it's taking place in fall, and there is a lot of people in town. And there was a bit of cliffhanger in the last one of this one, and then this started, and it's like they've not mentioned anything about how this one ended. What is going on? But it does come back into it. So we learn more about Colton as well in this book, and it elaborates a little bit more. Colton's family has also come to town, and his brother. And his brother makes an appearance and meets Winnie and all that sort of stuff, and it was just a great story. And of course there is a murder. This time it was really close to home for Winnie, with the murder victim in the back of her grandpa's pickup truck. And so her truck is taken, and it's part of the crime scene and all that sort of stuff, and there's just lots of little laugh out loud moments in this particular one. The relationship between Colton and Winnie also develops a little bit more in this one. I just really like their relationship. It was like Winnie just drives him crazy, essentially. So yeah, she's always getting herself into predicaments that she can't otherwise get out of and all that sort of stuff. But what I found really entertaining about this one, her best friend, Dot, is a wildlife ranger. And so she works in the national parks and whatnot, and she's always rescuing animals and all that sort of stuff. And inadvertently, she calls all her animals Kenny Rogers. So so she doesn't get attached to them. 2, because it's easier to remember, and whatnot. So any animals that she comes across, it'll get called Kenny Rogers. And so basically, so she found I think it's called a Tennessee fainting goat, and she's dropped that off because they were saying that they need to get some farm hands in to help with the maintenance of the farm and all that sort of stuff in one section of the book. And anyway, Dot turns up with these lawnmower experts, and it was a herd of goats. They're actually Dot's goats. She's only lending them to them, but one of the goats is Tennessee fainting goat. So anytime he hears a loud noise or anything like that, he just faints. And so throughout the book, there was a couple of times I nearly spat my coffee everywhere because it was such a funny thing to read. Like the goat just keels over. Anyway, so there was that, and then towards I think the middle of the book, a goose has appeared on the farm, and it was called Kenny Rogers until it got to Granny, and then Granny called it Wobbles, but Wobbles has it in for Winnie. So anytime Winnie comes home, the goose tries to get her, and she's really, really like scared of this goose, and her and Colton are walking along. They were going up to Granny's house and they were walking along together, and she was like on edge because she didn't know where the goose was. And she said, "Oh, you must think I'm silly." And then Colton told a story about a rooster that they owned when he was younger, and how it only ever attacked him, so he felt for her. And it was just so funny. Again, she gets herself into situations that she probably shouldn't get herself into. There's a little... Yeah, it was a little bit funny in a lot of places and whatnot. So I gave this one a 4-star rating. I also gave this one a 4-star rating. This one here I actually gave 5-star. Overall, I'm giving the whole series a 4.5-star rating. There was a couple of things that I marked it down for, but overall, 4.5-star rating for the series, and it's a series that I can tick off. And that's what I love about Julianne Lindsay, is that a lot of her series I've looked, there are only 2 or 3 books. So I think 3. I think there was one there I seen was 5, but I might be getting mixed up. But 3 books you can get through in a series. So I was really happy with that. Definitely was a cozy weekend. And I did say this at the beginning of the year, that in winter I tend to read a lot of cozies because you can just curl up with them. They're a fun time. And that's exactly what I did over the weekend. I just curled up in bed at night and read through them. And as I said, I was listening to, I found them on Script. So if anybody wants them, they are 3 of those. All 3 of them are over on Script. And the narrator of them is brilliant as well. But I did do immersive reading with those. Right. So let's move on to the next books. Okay, so the next couple of books that I read, again, these are cozies. This is the cozy mystery series called Stitches in Crime by ACF Bookins. I have been reading this with my Facebook group and some of my Discord members this year. We started it in January, and I have just finished book 6 and 7. So at the end of June, I think it was the last day of June, I read Sewn at the Crime, and this one was... this one was covering the death of a teacher back in the day that was teaching at an all-black student school. And she was very progressive. So there was a couple of students in her class that were gay and also lesbians. And I believe the teacher was also I'm just trying to think. I'm pretty sure she had a relationship. And so she was murdered at some stage. They found her under the boards of an old schoolhouse, and so the mystery ensued from that. Now, these books are pretty fast paced. This one only had 162 pages in it. I wasn't super excited about this story. I only gave this one a 3.5-star rating. Most of them I've been giving between 3.5 and 4 stars. So this is on the lower end. I would be lower end of the 3.5, I would say, like maybe closer to a 3. But yeah, I've given it a 3.5, mainly because I like the pacing of them. Really well done. Then it doesn't get lost, like you don't get lost in the story or anything like that, but it keeps you moving along. It keeps you intrigued enough to want to keep turning the pages. And it is also only a short book as well, so it's a great fun time as a cozy mystery, and it has touches on topics such as you know, race, all that sort of stuff. And every book has touched on something. It doesn't go into great detail, but it's enough to touch on it. And you know what? It may just trigger someone to go down a learning path to learn more about a community, about history and stuff like that. Yes, it is predominantly American history that they're covering in this. And yeah, so basically... yeah, that's all I can really say about this, because it's only 169 pages. If I talk too much about it, I'm going to give a lot away. And basically, if you haven't seen me talk about any of these, this is book 6. It's the main protagonist in these books is Paisley Sutton. She is a single mum, and it's just started raining. So if you can hear that, it's just started pouring rain here. She's a single mum. She's got a little boy named Sawyer. He is adorable. And these books are a little bit different. Like, you know how with most... like with this one that I just read this week, she goes off and sort of investigates and gets herself into mischief and all that sort of stuff. Paisley is working really closely with the police. In fact, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, Paisley and Santee are actually a couple at this stage. And so she's working, and he's the sheriff, and they're working really close together and whatnot. And so basically... she is a historian and also a salvage expert. So when she goes into every book, when she's gone into salvage something, there's been a body, because we all know that there's a body because it's a cozy mystery, right? And so basically, yeah, that's how they all start out, and then the storyline progresses from there. This one has not been my favourite one, but I did still enjoy it. As I said, it's 3.5. Most of them have been about a 4-star rating. I really enjoy ACF Bookin's writing and how she's slowly moving the story through. I was a little bit disappointed because book 5 we were getting a little bit more about Paisley's best friend Mika, and there wasn't really much in this one about her. So I'm hoping that Mika gets a little bit more airtime, but I don't think she's going to. I recently also just found these on Scribd as well, so if you want to catch up with the series, we are at book 7, and they are all on Scribd if you want to listen to them. And if you listen to your books fast like I do, you can burn through one of these in a couple of hours, like 2.5 hours. I can read one of these, and even if I'm reading it physically, it's like an afternoon of reading. Okay, so I also read book 7, which I read on the weekend as well, so that shows you how quick I was getting through these. I finished this one up on Monday sprints. I started it on Sunday evening, and it is called Blood and Back Stitches, and this one was fabulous. I've actually given this one 5 stars, and the reason I think I've given it 5 stars because so many things came together in this one. In 169 pages, we had a kidnapping, we had a murder, we also had a little bit of a backstory about a family that lives in where does the town? I cannot think of the town. I can not think off the top of my head. Is it not written on this one? No. Anyway, the town that they all live in, there is a family that's like a little bit of a mobster family. So we covered on that, and there was a little bit of talk about organ trafficking in this one. So quite a heavy topic, but it wasn't it didn't go into great depth or anything like that, but it's enough for you to maybe want to go and look at some true crime and stuff like that, and all that sort of thing. So the kidnapping, there was talk of child abuse in here around the kidnapping, and then we also had the murder, which was based just trying to it was referring back to the organ transplant and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, they're not very much spoilers. That's just telling you what each one of them was about. But the best part about this book is there was major things that happened in the relationship around Santee and Paisley. And I've been waiting. They're such a cute couple. It's such a sweet relationship. And her little boy is so sweet. And so it's becoming like a blended family type thing, and so it's quite lovely to read about it. And it's like Yeah, it's just so sweet. It's just cozy and it's sweet. But they are all the books that I have read, and as I said, I gave this one a 5-star rating. I think I actually put in Discord 4 stars, but I've actually upped it because I've thought about it a little bit more, and I've actually upped it to 5-star. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So, as I said, if you, these are all available on Kindle as well. I've got them all in the physical, and I just got book 8 is about to arrive. I got a notification saying that it's on its way or it's getting delivered tomorrow or something. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to going into book 8. So I'm waiting till August, everybody. I won't jump ahead as much as I want to because I was so excited when we got to the end of book 7. I'm like, now I've got to wait a whole month. So hopefully this month will go quick. But yeah, so they are the books that I've read in the past week. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here and you've yet to subscribe, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon beside it. And then that way you're not going to miss out on any of the books that I read, especially all the cozies that I seem to be going down the rabbit hole with. Yeah, and don't forget, leave me a comment down below. Have you read any of the books that, or the authors that I have talked about today? I would love to hear your thoughts on them as well. But as I said, that's it from me today. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.